Hey, hello everyone. I am Lynn Wemyss, and beside me is Doc Tom, and you probably saw him last week, and we are fortunate enough today to have him back with us. So thank you so much, Doc Tom, for being willing to come on today. So today we're going to cover a really important topic, one that so many people are dealing with lately, about being tired. I cannot tell you how many people call me every week and their chief complaint is always about being tired. So we hope to help a few people. So Dr. Tom has brought his, I think you call this fella Turtle, but does he have a different name today?
Today it's Bear. So what he actually says is just keep smiling. That's a great place to start off if you're really tired. Despite all the stuff that you're dealing with, just keep smiling. Right.
Right. So you're probably noticing that Dr. Tom and I are wearing matching sweaters.
It had to do with the pens that we had in our pockets. No.
And there's a really important reason for this. So we want you to stay to the end so that we can tell you why we are wearing these sweaters and how you can help a certain charity. So stay tuned and we'll talk all about that. So first of all, a new thing that I'm going to start doing is just sort of giving out a little bit of a disclaimer to protect us, because we're giving you some information and we want to make sure that you're protected and we're protected. So please bear with me. So we just want to say that this presentation or website may contain general information about various medical conditions and their treatment. Such information is provided for informational purposes only and is not meant to be a substitute for advice provided by your physician or another qualified healthcare professional. So the information contained herein should not be used to diagnose a health, a fitness problem, or a disease. You should always consult with your physician for medical advice, diagnosis, and treatment before beginning any type of natural, integrative, or conventional treatment regime. It's always advisable to seek the advice of a licensed healthcare professional. However, we do want you to know that we are both licensed, okay? But it's important that we do that. So today, as I said, our topic is about saying goodbye to being tired. And there are a few things that can do that. But my part today is about sleep. And I don't know whether you're like me, but I have had a sleep disorder for many, many years. And I just tolerated it for a long time and thought that it was normal. I have a member of my family that sleeps probably 4 to 5 hours a night, and you know who you are. And you believing that it's okay, that he still had lots of energy during the day and late into the evening, and it was just a normal thing for him. But let me tell you something, it is not normal, and it does have detrimental effects. However, sleep is unique in that, it affects you if you get too much sleep as well. And it affects you if you don't get enough. So what is the average amount of time that you should be sleeping, right? Because this will determine how much energy you have. It's one of the reasons that will determine how much energy you have and how long it will carry you during the day. So if you're having less than 5 hours sleep, it's going to affect you. And long-term, it's going to affect you physically with certain things cropping up, like what we call dis-ease. If you have more than 11 hours sleep on a daily basis, and
You're
believe
lazy.
you me,
No.
we can't say that. Can't say that. No, most of these people that are doing that, it's because their body is in a stressful situation, or they're just so burdened with toxins that their body reacts in the fact that they need to sleep more. And when you do that consistently on a consistent basis, your body gets programmed to that and it becomes a habit, right? And so what we want to do today is help you realize that a healthy way to maintain sleep is usually around the 7 to 9 hour mark, is what you're trying to get yourself into a pattern. And we're talking about uninterrupted sleep as well. We want the quality of the sleep to be right as well. So what are some of the things that can do to help you if you are having problems with sleep? And you'll probably see all over Facebook, there's lots of different things with people offering lots of advice on things that you can do. I've heard that if you put salt on your tongue, that may help you sleep. There's a lot of old remedies that are circulating, but some of the more used remedies for a lack of sleep would be melatonin, and number two would be valerian. And what is the difference between the two? Well, melatonin helps you get to sleep, but valerian helps you stay asleep. But I do want to say, right, that is not a fix, right? It's something that will help you. Melatonin helps a little bit with a little bit more of a natural type, but valerian is not good long term. So it's a short term fix, or to be used when you've gone a long time without sleep and you really, really need that sleep, right? And you need help to do that. That would be a good thing. But today we're going to talk about a lot of things other than that will help you get more balance so that your sleep should be less disruptive. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things too. I forgot an important one, magnesium. So magnesium is a natural tranquilizer, and it is my product of choice to have people try first. It is good for you. It's a mineral that helps with a lot of chemical processes in your body, not just sleep. So if you're taking magnesium, it is more advisable to take it in the evening. I usually recommend about half an hour before bedtime, half an hour to 1 hour before bed, so that you've absorbed it and that it's going to help you relax and help you have a good sleep. I had a son with ADD as a child, and I used magnesium to help him sleep for many, many years, plus some acupressure points, one specifically in his foot that would help him sleep. So these are more natural things that you can use, right? And then if that doesn't work, then you would take a step up. So what will happen if you don't get enough sleep? Just so you know, it helps you age faster. And that is something that none of us want, right? Especially us more mature folks. We don't want to age any faster than normal. So we want to make sure that we're getting sleep. So sleep is a priority if you're feeling tired. Some of the other things that you may notice are that you're more irritable, or you may have a little bit more anxiousness, right? You may feel a little bit more overwhelmed than normal. And sleep deprivation can cause a lot of these disturbances. So you want to get into that regular pattern. You will have an increased risk of adult onset diabetes. That absolutely is becoming an epidemic lately, right? Also increase your risk of obesity. I was surprised at that one when I was doing the research and reading some of the medical journals that actually has been studied and proven. And it will increase your chance of having high blood pressure. It will increase your chance of having a heart attack, and it will increase your chance of having a stroke. And these aren't things to terrify you, but it's things that you need to be aware of and things that you want to start thinking about to improve the quality of life. I cannot tell you, if you get your sleep into what we're recommending here and you feel more balanced, you will feel more energetic during the day. You will focus more. You business people out there, if you want more clarity, if you want to be able to focus better, then you want to think about making sure that your sleep is at an optimal level. So at this point, I think we've covered everything. If you have any questions about sleep or need help, please make sure that you reach out to us at adifferentkindofbetterclinic.com, and we will get your questions answered, or you can post in the comments below. We will make sure that we get back to you. Okay. All right. So Dr. Tom has some awesome things to talk to you about today. So I'm going to let him take over at this point, and I'll come back later.
So she can interrupt at any time. What I wanted to do as far as adding to the sleep is that at least 70% of the population is sleep deprived. That means they're not getting at least 7 hours of restful sleep. Often they have the TV on, often they have an alarm clock flashing with a light, a blue light, or the internet with a red light. That makes a difference. sometimes people do very well with having less sleep at nighttime, as long as they can have a few power naps during the day. And I've taken a lot of lectures in the past, and sometimes I'd sit in the back and have a power nap, uh, but I would have a tape recorder on as well. I think people probably didn't notice that I was falling asleep. Um, what I can share with you is that the other thing why diabetes is related and obesity is related, we often will plow down a whole lot of junk food in the evening while we're watching TV, or because we're not satisfied and we have a craving. And so what happens, we load up the gastrointestinal system, the stomach, and from the acupuncture standpoint, the liver is supposed to, the gallbladder is supposed to function between 11 p.m. until 1 in the morning. So it's dealing with fatty issues. And then the liver is supposed to rest and sort of help clear our body between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So often when we're eating, we can't get to sleep because we've told our digestive system that you better get into action here because you got a whole bunch of junk to process. Okay. And then sometimes when we got the wrong stuff going in there, we get into problems with our breathing. If there's a tendency for sensitivities to food, then we get into stuffy nose, we get into some shortness of breath at nighttime between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. And that's the acupuncture time period for lung. If you've got a child who's had asthma, they wake up the whole family usually at 3 o'clock in the morning because the energy does not flow through. And this is 5,000 years of experience of acupuncture with the Chinese. So I'm glad to add my 2 cents, or so many pence. What we're doing as well is looking at water. And many of us have had some guidance to take some bottled water because there's too much chlorine or there's too much fluoride in the water. Sometimes that's really great, but we don't need to take 8 glasses of water a day because it dilutes our digestive process. And if you took a couple of glasses of water within an hour of having a meal, you dilute your digestive juices so much that you'll have difficulty digesting pablum. Okay, because there is acid that's there. There is digestive enzymes that help digest protein in the stomach. Also, you tend to get up if you're drinking a lot of fluid, particularly in the evening. From a male standpoint, you often get up and you just have to relieve yourself in the middle of the night, and you wake up the other person that's there with you because you might have to wake up once or twice a week, a night, particularly with elderly people, which I'm not. Okay. So we dilute our juices. What I'd like to do is just track a little bit what happens to our food, because we're not what we eat. Oh, everybody says we are what we eat. We're not what we eat because often we don't chew our food. We don't take enough time to taste the flavors, sweet and sour and bitter and pungent and salty. The tongue is not just for talking. The tongue is a sensor that will send messages to the brain, and the brain says, oh, this is good stuff. I can handle this, and I know where to send it. But if it just waves as it goes through the mouth, then the brain doesn't get that information as well. Often we're not chewing because in European terms, each one of the teeth has an acupuncture point, has an acupuncture system related to it. And that's another whole story, but it's important that we talk to the teeth or talk to the gums, if you like. So why don't we just talk a bit about digestion. So let's put an apple in the stomach at the same time as we put some high protein, whether it's some beans or whether it's some chicken or what have you. That has to stay in the stomach for a couple of hours to digest the protein. But the apple reacts to the acid and starts to put pressure on the valve at the bottom of the stomach, and it says, I got to get out of here. So it opens up that valve, and the food entirely starts to go into the duodenum, which is the tube that drains the stomach. In there, we're supposed to digest carbohydrates, but as well, we have a whole lot of other food particles in there. And there's a whole bunch of guys in there waiting for those incompletely digested foods from the stomach. And these are multiple millions of bacteria. And this has an effect on our microbiome. This is the organisms that are in the upper part of the gut. And often we just flush those organisms out. And often we don't give them a chance to seal the lining of the small intestine so that we have protection, so that the liver doesn't receive everything that's in the small intestine. And in lay terms, it's called leaky gut. In medical terms, it's called semi-permeable diffusion across the bowel. That doesn't work well. But when the wrong stuff goes through the small intestine wall, it goes up to the liver. And the liver says, ye gads, there's a fox in the hen house here. And so what happens, the inflammatory process begins. The white blood cells start to say, what can we do with all this junk? And how do we gift wrap it all and send it out of here? And then there's the chemical system that works, which is a group of cytokines. There's now about 160 different chemicals that are also generated. So the body sets itself up very quickly into inflammation. And inflammation causes pain, it causes indigestion, and it will interfere with your sleep if we go back to the first part. Digestion from the age of 40, for each decade, there's a drop in the proper digestive enzymes. Per decade, some of the studies show that we drop those enzymes by about 10% for each decade. So by the time we get to 50 years old, we're 90% of the enzymes. 60, we're 20%. 70, we're 30%. If you want to get rid of your elderly relative, then you just feed them steak and things that they can't digest because they don't have the digestive enzymes. Don't do that. So what you have to do is probably make sure that you're combining your food in the right way, and also that you can take a good digestive enzyme, not with one that is pork-based. The enzymes actually break down carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And some companies will manufacture one of the enzymes from pork, and some people are sensitive to the pork. So as we follow the food through there, let me just see what else we got here. I don't have my glasses, so I'm going entirely from memory here. Let's just see. So the enzymes is there, we dilute. Microbiome, liver, and transport. So what the liver is supposed to do, not from 1 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the morning, the liver during the time when we're supposed to eat is supposed to gift wrap the junk that we have. And it uses a couple of processes. One is methylation, and that's why we take folic acid. It's usually 1 to 5 milligrams of the folic acid that we take. That protects our chromosomes as well, but it also helps us to gift wrap the junk. If we then dump that back into the bowel, then if we don't have a healthy organism supply in the gut, then it will unwrap the junk that we've dumped in there, and then we end up sending it back to the liver. So we just make it not so good. There's a special term called emunctories, and it's a naturopathic term. We don't use it in standard medicine, but the way is that how do we get rid of junk? How do we get rid of the exhaust from metabolism? Sometimes we just pass it in gas or we burp it, but otherwise we have to pass it out through our kidneys. We have to pass it out through the bowel itself. We have to pass it out through our sinuses. Ladies have other places where they can have discharge. Some people discharge from their belly button as well. The biggest organ is our skin. So often we've got stinky armpits if we've got a lot of food that's been really spicy, or we've been incompletely digesting and incompletely processing. So the emunctories are important. We can, if you want to have I
just want to say that you don't have that problem.
Oh, thank you very much. And sometimes,
thank you, because I'm sitting right next to him.
Well, sometimes you have halitosis as well, which is bad breath, and that's sometimes from the teeth, but sometimes it's from a stinky gut or improper function. So we follow that through, and we go to every cell. She's got something here. Oh yeah, we go to every cell, and what is gift wrapped and sent out to the body goes to every cell, and the cell has a membrane, or it's called a wall, but it's made of lipoprotein or glycoprotein. So fancy terms that say we have to have the proper healthy fats in order to have things be able to go into the cells and come out of the cells. In sickness, often the cells are dehydrated because the environment around the cell, or around the pond, if you like, is not properly being moved by the lymphatics, bringing the substances back through the lymph system into the vascular system. What we need for energy is we need to have within the cell the little mitochondria. We call them mighty mouses, if you like. But in health, we're supposed to have 2,000 to 3,000 of these little factories within each cell. They have their own DNA. They have their own chromosomes, different from our standard chromosomes. But what they do is they run a particular cycle called the Krebs cycle. And the Krebs cycle is a series of assembly line whereby you use magnesium and the body uses other structures in order to produce an energy brick, which is called ATP. And we need to have that to drive our system. How many times does the heart beat in a day, in a 24 hours? About 100,000 times. Just try moving your muscle in your arm 100,000 times. The diaphragm has to breathe about 15,000 times, up and down and up and down. And when we've got a fair amount of stress, we're tight in the diaphragm, our heart's going kickety-boo. So those are a couple of ideas, liver. And so you wanted to talk a little bit about something else you pointed out.
So you mentioned
exercise. Okay, so I've got a sore wrist and I want to exercise my sore wrist. Not. What I want to do is isometric, so I can just make a claw, if you like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I can push the hand over in one way or push the hand over in another way, but it doesn't actually move. So I'm not moving the joints, but I am building up the muscles. Commonly, people get into fatigue because they're doing a really great thing at working out in the gym. And so they're lifting stuff and they jam up their diaphragm, they jam up their neck because they're exercising improperly. So it's really helpful that you have a guide at a gym that can help you to build up gradually. Otherwise, you end up having a really short neck and you have a lot of troubles in that way. So another thing that we're looking at here is perspective and expectation. So a good example is I'm behind schedule and I've got to get through town and there are 10 red lights. And I have an expectation that life is fair and I'm going to get 5 red lights, but for sure I'm going to get 5 green ones. By the time I get to the 9th red light that I got in a row, I'm almost ready to go through the 10th light, whether it's green or whether it's red. So we tighten ourselves up because we didn't leave 5 minutes earlier to go to work. And we forgot to say, okay, if there's a light, then I can do something for 30 seconds. I can have a list, I can work it, but you don't want to do your cell phone thing.
You said it's okay if I'm late.
Oh yeah, well, I'm usually late, but I'm always on time, but I'm just not in the place I'm supposed to be. So expectations is really important. Let me see what else here. There's conflict resolution will fatigue us faster than anything. And a good example is it's called a PC. It's a persistent complaint that you don't voice to somebody else, but they're supposed to read your mind. For example, when I'm on my way out to work, I know I've got to be there at a set time. Invariably, one of the 6 kids asks me to do something, to sign a piece of paper. Oh, I have to have lunch. I have to do this, have to do that. So I've made a rule that says you have questions, then you talk with me at least a half an hour before I go or before you go to bed. But invariably, they don't know I'm really annoyed, but I tighten down and I say, now I'm going to be late again, and they're satisfied and I'm not. So it's a persistent complaint. And the persistent complaint, reasoning doesn't help. Don't ask me a question at that point in time because I'm being really reasonable and you shouldn't ask me that question. And it doesn't matter how reasonable I am. It makes me right and it makes them wrong, and it interferes with the intimacy as well. So conflict has to be resolved in a different way as to what are the steps of how we get our needs met within families. And that's a persistent complaint. Energy.
I think you have it all covered.
I think so. We're talking a bit about autism. And autism It used to be sort of very few cases of autism per 1,000 kids, very few. And now in some studies, it's 1 in 50 children, or even worse than that. And that's a major conflict that people have, as they have this child that has really special needs, and the society doesn't seem to be able to provide the funding for the care for the mother or the father to stay at home, lose their entire income, but somehow manage this one child along with the other children as well. Lots of causes for autism in the literature, and lots of research trying to be done. But this child actually gets put into a regular classroom, and it overwhelms the teachers, because I've got to pay attention to this child who needs some special needs, and I need a special education helper as well. And it's not the parent, it's somebody that has to be hired and be there. But you have some thoughts about autism.
So autism, I have been personally touched with autism. I have a grandchild that has autism. And so what these sweaters are my daughter, who has an autistic child, has a business where she makes tie-dye clothing. And this is not about promoting her business, even though I am a mom. The thing is that her son, who is autistic, has helped he actually helps make these sweaters. And they are running a campaign right now that if you purchase one of these, blue and white, which is the colors that show, or
it's our eyes, it's our eye color.
Plus our blue eye color, okay. Promote autism. There is a thing in Toronto that's happening on October the 18th. It's called the Autism Speaks Canada Car Parade, and that's October the 18th in Toronto. So if you can support it, that would be great. A portion of the proceeds from purchasing these sweaters will go towards that particular charity. So we're really hoping that you will step up and help support autism in this way. These sweaters are very reasonably priced. You can go to Diba, capital D-I, B as in Bob, A, on Facebook to find her page, Diba Fashions, I believe, in full. Her name is Saren, Erin with an S. She's a beautiful person and does a beautiful job, custom order any size, actually does them in children. So you can actually have mother-child matching sweaters and be helping a good cause. So keep that in mind. So that's why we're wearing them. Hopefully we'll wear them from now until October the 18th to support and promote the Autism Speaks movement. So that's all for this week. Please note that next week we will be talking about frequencies. Are they good for you? Please tune in. We're going to have some exciting things to tell you. So next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us today. Dr. Tom will be talking in the future about the emotional side of how emotions and stress can affect you, affect your energy levels as well. Okay, so that's coming up in the future. We have some great speakers coming up for you. We're lining them up, and we'll let you know what they are each week. So watch our page. Different Kind of Better clinic.com is our clinic page, and a Different Kind of Better.com is a spin-off from Speak Up and Empower, which is an awesome platform. We are a member-based platform for wellness practitioners to educate and help globally bring awareness to people that there are different ways to get better. So please take a look at that platform. If you are a wellness practitioner in any way, shape, or form, you will want to become a member of this platform. We hope to see you soon. See you next Tuesday at 5. Take care.
Thanks very much for tuning in, and keep smiling.
Yeah, keep smiling. Bye for now.